One of the most common tropes of platforming games are power-ups, but where this staple has flourished in the realm of 2D games, they've struggled when it came to the third dimension, always feeling like more of a gimmick than a genuine enhancement. Until Donkey Kong Bonanza, which to me has perfected the art of 3D platforming power-ups. But let's back up a bit and go into more detail on why power-ups have struggled to gain the same foothold they have in 2D. The core issue to me is how the exploration of 3D games shatters any kind of pacing a power-up could have. See, in 2D Mario, the designers can accurately predict where you'll go and what you'll do, as there's only one direction you can move in. This means they can tailor the pacing nearly perfectly, and they know when a power-up will be its most effective. This design philosophy can be seen in both Galaxy games and Odyssey, where the power-ups are usually placed in linear challenges that require them. But this is out of line with the freedom that 3D platformers offer over 2D games. However, there's also an issue with being too liberal with your power-ups. If the player can get stronger whenever they want, then that becomes their new default, and the core design of the game breaks apart. At least that's what I thought until Donkey Kong Bonanza. Because the game is more lenient with power-ups than any 3D game I've ever seen, but it also has just enough roadblocks to keep them interesting. The most obvious gate is the timer of your transformations. However, as anyone who's played the game can attest, it should take you less than 3 seconds to refill your gauge, as it refills by finding gold, which you get from smashing. So without a challenging roadblock in the way, what's stopping the player from simply staying transformed for the majority of the game? But it's what happens during that countdown that's ingenious, the musical beat. See, in every other platformer, no power-up gets its own music track, except for one notable exception, the invincibility star from Mario. This is because the power-up only lasts for a limited time, so Nintendo can conduct a track that lasts for the exact right amount of time. But that music is deliberately fast-paced to instill a sense of urgency in the player, so they can make use of their limited invincibility. That frantic track is also used in Bananza in order to instill the same sense of urgency with the game's energetic atmosphere. This heightens the tension of the player, so they feel the need to act fast in order to clear the challenge with their transformation. But this time, it's a trick. Once the invincibility star runs out in Mario, then it's game over. You can't get it back, so the urgency is warranted. But here in Donkey Kong, the limit on using your power is essentially infinite, so the music serves as more of a trick than a genuine warning. Another way Bananza cleverly inhibits the player is by forcing them to go through a brief transformation sequence. This puts a stopgap between the player and their transformation, making them have to give an investment in order to transform. It's minor enough that it doesn't bother you when you need the power-up, but long enough so that you don't spam it and abuse its power. But there's another core issue with 3D power-ups that Bananza solves. In 2D games, power-ups are usually a straight upgrade, giving your character an additional tool in their arsenal while not affecting them elsewise. Curiously, this is rarely the case in 3D, with Metal Mario preventing you from gaining any height, B Mario inhibiting your agility, and the transformations in Odyssey completely replacing Mario's moveset. But here in Donkey Kong, all of the power-ups only enhance DK's funky moves, while not taking away any of the destructive force he's capable of. This gives all of them almost universal application outside of when another one is required. By taking away any penalty for using them, Bananza is able to further boost the viability of its power-ups and incentivize the player to use them. It's the delicate push and pull Bananza has of giving you limitless power with its transformations, while inhibiting them just enough so that they don't take over the game that's the key to their resounding success. Ultimately, what Donkey Kong Bonanza pulls off here is something I genuinely didn't think was possible. It solves the age-old puzzle of 3D power-ups, not by reinventing the wheel, but simply fine-tuning it to perfection. By handing you limitless destructive power, while cleverly tricking you into using it sparingly, it achieves a delicate balance of freedom and restraint that's borderline genius. Bananza isn't the groundbreaking evolutionary leap some fans might have proclaimed, but that's exactly why it's brilliant. It doesn't try to be something radically new, It refines and polishes an existing idea into something sublime. It understands precisely how you, as the player, interact with power-ups, gently steering your behavior through subtle cues like carefully timed musical beats and minor transformation delays that keep your playthrough fresh without feeling restrictive. In doing this, Bonanza doesn't just elevate the idea of what a 3D power-up can be, it sets a blueprint for future games. Maybe upcoming platformers will build upon this success, or perhaps they'll venture in entirely new directions. But for now, we've got proof that genuine innovation doesn't always mean starting from scratch. Sometimes it's just about taking something familiar and thoughtfully, masterfully perfecting it. For more Donkey Kong essays, here's one about how the game isn't the next step in 3D platformers, and I'll be back in 2 days.